It was an ordinary, even boring Friday. Spring break was just around the corner, and we were all fidgeting impatiently in our seats during calculus, our last period of the day. Fortunately, unlike many of my friends, we didn't have a test that day. Since our teacher was very laid back, he decided to play games with us on sporkle.com in the middle of class. I remember the moment very clearly. We were doing a brand logo quiz, and a friend had just shouted out Adidas when the dean's voice came over the loudspeaker. His voice was panicked and trembling. He told all teachers that this was not a drill and to initiate lockdown procedures immediately. My skin crawled. Even our easygoing teacher rushed to kill the lights in a panic and huddled us into the back corner of the classroom. We sat in silence for about 2 minutes before the buzzing from the panel at the back of the room cut out. This meant the school had cut the power. We looked at each other, realizing how serious the situation was. A few minutes later, we heard the voice of a man screaming at the top of his lungs in the hallway. 2 girls in the class started crying, which terrified us. There are 2 lunch periods at my school. The first is for the 6th and some 7th graders, and the second is for the rest. This happened in early October on a cloudy and rainy day during the first lunch shift. I heard 4 loud bangs. I thought it was thunder, but the entire crowd started screaming. Security guards rushed in, shouting for everyone to get to the multi-purpose room. The kids in the lunch line threw their food in the trash and ran inside. The back wall of the hall was glass from top to bottom. As security covered the glass with curtains, an adult was stationed at every exit. My friend Eric asked what was happening, and when he came back, he said, "You know the houses in front of the school? A mentally unstable man has barricaded himself in his home there, threatening to kill the police and commit suicide." It turned out the man was also a registered sex offender, which made the situation even more terrifying. We were trapped there for a full hour, spanning 2 class periods. Once the situation settled down, we were taken back to our classrooms. Later, I found out the man was my friend Brandy's neighbor. Brandy had seen the man cut his arm at the window during the previous Halloween and write, "Don't come here or I'll kill you," in his own blood. Everyone thought it was a prank back then, but after this incident, we realized the man was truly dangerous. I'm 22 years old, just graduated from university and started working as an IT intern at my old high school. I work in the school basement. It's a messy place, but our office was quite comfortable with air conditioning and a TV. One day, while my coworkers Dave and Gary were upstairs, I received a call in the office. I was told the school was on lockdown and that there might be an armed person inside. Our office didn't have a door, just a wide opening, and the lock on the basement's main door was broken. I turned off the lights and my computer and hid under the desk. About 20 minutes later, the basement's creaky door opened. Footsteps were approaching the office. Breathless with fear, I tucked myself as far under the desk as I could. Someone walked in, but they didn't turn on the lights. Just at that moment, I got a message on my phone, and the ding sound echoed. I thought, this is it for me. When the footsteps reached right next to me, I gave up, scrambled out from under the desk and begged, "Please don't kill me." The man grabbed me by the arm and pulled me up. He was wearing a red plaid shirt and jeans. "It's okay. I'm hiding here with you. What's going on upstairs?" he said. He explained that he had come to pick up his son and that a teacher had told him to hide. Just then, I looked at the message that had come to my phone. It was from Dave. "Dude, it's crazy up here. Someone shot Mr. Buckley. They're looking for someone in a red plaid shirt and a hat. Don't come upstairs." When I looked up at the man, he realized I had read the message. I started running upstairs in a panic. A shot was fired behind me, and I heard the bullet hit something metal in the darkness and ricochet, but luckily it didn't hit me. When I got upstairs, the police were guarding all the exits, and the man was caught the moment he opened the door. The good news is that our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the shooting. Apparently, there was some past grudge between him and the man, but the reason was never disclosed. I think the echo of that gunshot will stay with me forever. After graduating, I spent an entire winter looking for work before finally finding a temporary job as an archives clerk in an old public library on the outskirts of town. The library was a massive stone building from the 1920s, with high ceilings and corridors that felt like a labyrinth. My workspace was the microfilm room in the basement, a place that never saw a glimmer of daylight. That day, there was a freezing storm outside. Besides me, the only people in the building were the elderly librarian, Mrs. Henderson, and a few university students upstairs. Around 4 p.m., the clicking sounds from the building's old cast-iron radiators suddenly stopped. Then I heard the library's famously heavy front door slam shut with a loud bang. Normally, that door closed slowly. Someone had slammed it on purpose. Immediately after, a crackling announcement echoed through the speakers. But it wasn't an announcement, it was just the sound of someone breathing rapidly. I heard Mrs. Henderson's trembling voice. "Everyone stay where you are. Lock the doors from the inside and turn off the lights. Please be silent." The announcement cut off with a sob. The archives room door had a glass pane and the lock was worn out. It didn't close properly. I turned off the lights and crouched behind the metal shelves, hiding among the dusty files. About 10 minutes later, a heavy rhythmic footstep began descending the marble stairs to the basement. The steps weren't rushed. On the contrary, they were slow and steady, as if the person knew exactly who was there. The footsteps stopped in front of the archives. In that moment, I was sure my heartbeat was echoing in the silent room. I watched the door handle slowly turn downward. The broken mechanism of the lock strained with a metallic creak. The door swung open. I could only see a silhouette in the darkness, a tall figure wearing a wet raincoat. As he stepped inside, the smell of heavy metal and cold air filled my nose. The man began to speak in a whisper, though it wasn't clear who he was talking to. "There's no point in hiding. Just as I know where every book in here is, I know exactly where you are." He began walking, dragging a metal object across the shelves. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was getting closer. Just as he reached the end of the shelf where I was hiding, my phone began to vibrate in my pocket. My mother was calling. The screen's light glowed like a flashlight in the dim room. The man stopped. I could hear his breathing. Just as I was about to give up and bolt from my spot, a massive crash and the sound of breaking glass came from the floor above. The man looked up, cursed, and quickly hurried out of the room toward the stairs. It turned out that at that exact moment, the police had smashed through the upstairs windows. The man was a former library employee who had come seeking revenge because he had been fired that day. They found library floor plans and a handgun equipped with a silencer in his pocket. When the police found me, I was still trembling between the shelves. To this day, I sometimes hear the sound of metal scraping against shelves in my dreams and wake up in a cold sweat.